Welcome to Middle Fingers Up. I'm Kieran McKay, your host. Today, I am super thrilled to have Vishal Aheer here with us. Vishal is a guy to go to if you don't care for, don't believe in, maybe have like so much anxiety about participating in physical activity, like exercising our bodies. Vishal's journey began with a childhood love for competitive sports, which led him to specialize in sport-specific strength training and conditioning. And over the past 12 years or so, he has worked closely with professional athletes, honing his expertise in athletic development. But that's a fancy part of him. My favorite part of him is, in addition to work with the athletes, he has developed a passion for women's health and fitness. So for Vishal, he tries to focus on the physiological and biomechanical needs of women, empowering them to achieve their fitness goals while prioritizing long-term health and well-being. So today we're going to learn more about Vishal's commitment to women's health and his work within the South Asian community. Beyond his whole expertise, Vishal is also passionate about promoting balance and safety through the work that he does with his clients, which I appreciated when I got to go do a little session with him. And I think this also helps his clients understand that physical health goes beyond the whole aesthetics thing that most of us, get sort of caught up in. Welcome, Vishal. Nice to have you.
Hi, Kieran. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I feel like a super guest with that intro, definitely. So,
did I miss anything? I sometimes am a good host and I ask. Sometimes I forget to ask. So, did I miss anything that you want to add in there about you and who you are?
No, you nailed it. I started off with just loving sports and I wanted to just be in the gym because of that. It really starts off from me kind of just being like a smaller, Indian dude, never had any genetic advantage here in terms of sports and everything. So I've always kind of had to have the aspect of skills and that to kind of guide me through this. Not that other people don't, just mean in the sense of like, I never had the athletic advantage. So
totally.
That's where I got started doing this. And then eventually, it became something that I was kind of good at, and the education backed it. I loved it. And I realized that really quick that this is actually not the issue with the world right now, especially in our community. Athletes have what they need, They're out there. Athletes are a type of person that are constantly looking for that competitive edge, always.
Totally.
So they're always trying to get the best shoes, always get the best this. However, the average person who's afraid of all of this is constantly just like putting themselves into this little shell, and I wanted to kind of go that way and go and help these people break out of that shell, because most of these people are actually athletes should they develop these habits. But without the habits, they'll never really know what they're made of. So
yeah, I like that. It's like it's within us whether we want to go that, route or not. Genetics, all these other things obviously do partake in that. But the point is, I love it that athletes get all the help and support, all the resources, everything. They have all that, access to fancy stuff. But what about the rest of us who aren't always going to have those specialized doctors helping us with the whole longevity thing? So I love that. Before we get into anything, why don't we start with where, you have this whole great presence on the good old social media. Where can folks find you? Because you have a couple of different accounts that sort of do a couple of different things. So let us know where we can find you.
So you can find me on Instagram. That is my bread and butter, really. I haven't really jumped around to like TikTok and all that too much. I prefer to stick with one, and I've kind of made my little way through that. So on Instagram, I'm at v.raw.aesthetica. And I just kind of promote fitness on that page. You can see a day of my life, how I do my job. I try to let you see inside of that. There's no actual commitment to seeing how we go through a day-to-day session. You should be able to see that, and you should say like, I want that, right off the basis of just seeing it. And that's what I try to give out there. And aside from all that information stuff, I feel like Instagram is a really good way to get your word out there. And speaking about that, right before we get into that, I actually really want to say something about Instagram specifically.
Okay.
There's like this thing that I live by with Instagram, and it's really that like, you don't really have to worry about how many likes you get, okay? It really does not matter, because a lot of people's likes and stuff like that on Instagram come from like somebody in abandoned India somewhere, okay?
Hey, that's okay. It can be messy.
Not a problem, not a problem. But when you're doing it for a business base and you're trying to grow your business and stuff like that, Musty's not going to help.
No, it's true. She's just going to tell me she loves me, but not necessarily buy the hoodie. I hear you.
Right? And so that part of it is like really, really daunting for people, and they don't get the likes and they think that, hey, I should stop. But I'm here to tell you that like 13 years of me doing this, I've been on Instagram making videos. My likes have not gone up still to this day. However, my views are going up.
Yeah.
And the views mean everything. Because once
really
you post yourself on there, you know, you get yourself out there to the right algorithm, you're hitting the people. Whether they like it or not, they heard you. And so that is what my page is.
I think I love it because they also now include the whole insights thing too, which is nice. Like before you kind of look for it, now you're like, oh, I didn't get the A, but the B is also good. You know, like when you're trying to figure out with the likes and stuff. And I'm glad you did that PSA, because there's a lot of good skill and talent and good conversation out there. And I think a lot of people, including myself, we kind of hide or get fearful of, oh, I'm not good enough because I have to have 7,000 likes. And I know there's so much good content out there. And yeah, who cares if the likes and followers, you know, all that stuff will happen. It's cool to have the community that is already responding. And I'm sure you have those private conversations. You see those people you day to day. So that's sort of what we're trying to build. And let's talk a little bit more about that, because one thing that I have to say about your videos that I got was, I didn't even know you. And this is how we started talking. You messaged me and were really kind, said something nice about my content. I messaged you back. And then I watched a couple of your videos, and I work out almost every day, you know, do strength training and all sorts of things. And so I went, and it was like something about the plank. And all I took from it and remember was, okay, if you're going to do it, whether it's 30 seconds, 15 seconds, like, you know, however many seconds, like fully squeeze, like fully be present, fully put yourself in it, you know. And so now in a 30-second plank, I can hold it. But for 15 seconds, I'm actually doing it so fucking right. And I always think of you now since that day. I'm like, damn, Vishal's making me get my, you know, mom jiggles into like, you know, less and less. So, you know, I appreciate that. Like it actually really, whether you can see it or not, I feel it. Like it's like strength building, right? When you do an exercise and you can feel the muscle you're working on versus like, oh, can I see it? I don't know. It's a different thing. So I just wanted to say cool videos. Thank you for that, because you do a nice job giving us tips and stuff throughout the day. So appreciate that.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what the page is about, right? And I'm sure a lot of people hate on me for that. But the truth is, some of this information should just be free. You shouldn't have to go and pay for this kind of stuff anyway. So like,
it's like water, you know, like,
right? yeah, essentially. But it just comes down to like, this information is available on the internet here, and people actually, we live in a era where everything's on the internet.
That's the thing. I think that's the hard part, is like there's so much available in one place, and so then we get a little either we go to the same place all the time, which is good for some things, but not and then or we get overwhelmed. There's all sorts of things. We all know how it is when we go to research one thing, and then we're like, how did I end up now writing a book about this, you know, like, because I've done so much research, it's like ridiculous. But
it's that fight. You can say like, oh, what are the benefits for being a vegan? What are the benefits of eating meat? Both will have a large argument for why one is better than the other. And I just don't I'm like, hey, a mix is perfect for me. That's it.
Well, and that's what I love, right? Is that balance piece that always comes to mind when I think of you. And it was helpful having that one-to-one time with you too. And so I think we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But maybe
Right.
we can kind of talk a little bit about you. So in your intro, we learned that you grew up on competitive sports. And, I just always love hearing the little Punjabi kids and their sports stories, because another PSA, like, sports are great and awesome, but not all kids got to grow up being part of it, and all of our families could afford it or knew how to have access to it, and all sorts of things in between. So it's always interesting when you meet a kid or two from the BIPOC community that kind of grew up in that household. So I'm curious, how did that get introduced to you? What was that like for you and your siblings?
So sports has been like something that my dad actually loved to play. He's just a sporty kind of guy. My mom has two brothers, and then all of her cousins are brothers too. So I got a ton of mame, right? And they're all into sports in their own way too. And my mom's from Africa, my dad's from India. So the soccer end of Africa is like, right?
Right.
And some of them were competitively into that then too. And my dad was big into cricket when he came to Canada. He actually played for a pretty good team out here too. And classic story, he had kids and he had to stop. But so we've always been interested. My parents are huge Flames fans. They are diehard fans of Flames. Regardless doing good or not, this is our city. This is where we're
This
born
is who they go
here.
for. Yeah.
This is who they go for, right?
Yeah.
And to that thing, I really want to actually add this too. My dad is such a Canadian, even though he's from India. He's such a Canadian that when the Flames get booted out, he immediately rips his shirt off and wears that like Oiler shirt. Like he'll just go for, he'll go for
that's not what I was
anybody.
expecting.
Yeah, exactly. He will
Wow.
go for anybody that represents us more
The
than
country.
anything.
Yeah.
Literally, he'll say, you know what, Edmonton's better than Toronto because it's still Alberta.
What about us Canucks fans? How does he feel about us?
He's down with it. He loves to see, he's a realistic person. He loves to see the Red Mile when it's lit up,
Yeah.
And that only happened from battling Edmonton Canucks and stuff like that. That's the reality. So this just spawns like sportsmanship in our city. All the riots and shit, that stuff happens. You can't control crazy people.
That's the people.
Yeah, that's just them, right? But the other aspect of it, like, sports just in general. So that was that. And then I have an elder brother and I have a younger brother. So just being alive in my household was a competition. So, we
You're the mid child, right?
Exactly, right? So I'm always competing to be young with my brother and get the, the lucky this, lucky that from my mom and dad. And then I'm also competing with my elder brother to be recognized as a mature child,
Yeah,
and,
well said.
That was the battle here. Then sports came in. And, sports was like my savior. I hated school. I got good grades, but I hated being in school. And being like bullied all the time in school. It was like just being smaller and not, we were in economically set up, at that time. It just had us. And so they didn't have the setup as other people did. And not that they weren't working, they're working their asses off. I would see my mom leave at 5 a.m. and I wouldn't see her again till about 6 o'clock p.m.,
Yeah.
And we raised ourselves. This stuff is illegal today. We were like, we were like 8 years old, and my elder brother would get home early enough to make us food. We'd eat with him. I'd have to walk with my brother from elementary. I'd be in like grade 6 and he'd be in like grade 3, and we'd walk home together. Like there was rules. We did all this in the freezing cold too. What are we going to do? My parents couldn't afford to like not go to work. So sports for us was a luxury. It was not sports. It was like, my dad's like, you guys are on the soccer team. And we're like, sweet, we're so excited to be here, right? Because soccer was the cheaper sport on top of that. I wanted to play hockey as a younger kid because it got all the attention.
Yes.
And I just wanted to do what the other kids did, right? But that was an expensive sport, right? And no one's going to pay back then. And I don't blame my mom and dad either. They're from a different cloth at the time, right?
Totally.
And so sports for us was truly our leisure, our luxury. So just getting practice. Like, we're from an era where our fees were low too, because we lived in the northeast of Calgary. So we were part of those teams that didn't have all the money. We gave our jerseys back, we didn't get to keep them.
Yeah.
And so the only way you got to keep it is if you made it to provincials, and then they put your name on the back.
Oh,
now it's yours.
Yeah.
So
how many do you have with your name on the back?
None of them fit anymore, unfortunately, but I have probably like 9.
Oh,
8 or 9
that's a very impressive number.
So
nice. Yeah.
I've been, speaking of that, I was like the captain of Team Alberta for U16. Like, I really thrived because this was my only place to thrive. It was the
What
only
did it do for you? Like, what, as you're talking about growing up, sort of a lot of independence, no shade to our parents.
No,
Like
not
you
at
said, a
all.
lot
It's
of
not shade.
respect, opportunity in some ways that came out of it. But okay, you're a kid. You have to do a lot of grown up things. So when you have sports to turn to, like what kind of things did that recreational activity do for a young brown kid like you growing up?
Well, I think the coolest thing was being a brown kid. First thing, we don't get sleepovers. We don't get none of that, right?
No,
So,
man. I hear
so, so,
you.
yeah, tournaments that were far from home, like, wow, we got to travel for once, right? And here's the other thing
That's so
too.
cute.
My parents were so busy at work, they weren't able to even come to our games.
Yeah.
So while I was the star of this team, my parents would see it, you know? It was only till later, as we grew a little bit older, 13, 14, 15, that my dad was like, hey, you're on the premier team? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, dude, I'm gonna come watch your games. And then we got our last name on the jersey. And my dad's like, holy fuck, like that's my last name.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
then,
yeah.
so then, like it became something to them too, that it might not just be sports. Like my kid might actually excel in this. And that concept for my dad specifically
Mm.
was something that I think drove us forward. I think that's what really pushed us. So that's what sports really did for us, was like drove us closer to community, gave us an understanding, and we felt important.
Yeah.
I don't feel important at school, but I felt really good on the soccer field with my team. After I score, my team's like, yeah, I felt
Yeah, yeah.
important. So
It's like a camaraderie, and I think when
for
we
sure.
look at what sports can do for kids developmentally, outside of what all the parents want their kids to be the next Archdeep Baines and all of that, but
Hmm.
those are unique situations. The rest of us, if we look at it as this is just to help my kid develop, you make a really interesting point, and I don't know if this is something that's ever come up for you and your family, but in my time of working with young people, mental health, especially vulnerable kids that are not doing well socially in school, not being accepted,
Hmm.
even academically, just not being accepted. And then when home isn't as solid in the sense of your family wasn't present, your parents weren't always there
Right.
because they were working, they were present in other ways. There's always a door opening to belong in some, unsafe ways, gangs, getting into
100%.
trouble, those sorts of things, because kids need structure. And when we don't give that to them, there's a limit of structure, but when we don't give that to them, then they, try to go find their own way, and it doesn't go well because they don't know how to do these things. So I think, as I hear your story, I think, oh, like how fortunate were you to be able to get into that kind of activity that drove you and your brothers to want to do well, excel, and then you felt this sense of like, oh, acceptance, but in a way that was working together. So that's really cool. Like kudos to you and your family for putting sports in your world at a young age. Sometimes it's like fate in
Thank
some
you. Yeah.
ways, right?
Yeah,
Like who
yeah,
knows?
absolutely. I say it all the time. Like I wouldn't be who I am without competing.
Yeah.
And that's just in life, just in life in general. Like it may have been an unhealthy relationship at the start. It may have been. I'm sure with today's like mental health awareness, people understand that like you can't put all kids through this. Not all kids will thrive through this either.
Yeah.
That's the other thing too. So that's one thing I learned also is like I started seeing teammates that belonged on my team, but we didn't have the same mentality. And that's where I started realizing that like these guys have their own way and I have my own way.
Yeah.
And I have to learn to accept. But when we're here, we're all the same.
Yeah.
However big your house is, your parents and shoes you're wearing, doesn't matter. When we're
Whatever
here, we're all the
race
same.
you are, like, like
100%.
sometimes there's
Absolutely.
like I said, that camaraderie, if you can truly have it, it goes such a long way for young kids building their self-confidence. Because at the end of the day, that's what it is. You're a new dad. We can give our kids all the cars, all the fancies, but the most important fancy thing we could help our child learn as a parent myself is some self-worth, that they can grow up
100%.
feeling their own self-worth, right? Like okay, even when they're not confident about something, they still feel I'm worth it. I can do this. I can all the things, like I can ask for help because I'm worth it. All that stuff that I think somehow can get missed.
To defend our parents, like in that sense, like they weren't born here, so they didn't have that sense of belonging. I have a sense of belonging. I was born here. I worked in the same hospital that I was born in. I seen the lady that gave birth to me.
Yeah.
Like 25 years later, I was like, do you remember me? And she's like, obviously not. I know, stupid question, but I just had to say that, right? I had
She's
to
like,
say,
Vishal.
yeah. And then she's like, oh my God, like, I can't believe that I don't have, like, but I could go down the record book and see and blah, blah, blah. I'm like,
Yeah,
trust me,
yeah,
it was
yeah,
you. I
yeah.
know, I've done my research.
It'd be really cool if, as you know, we could do some work together in the community where we get to, you know, put the funds together where we can have more opportunities for our kids coming in, families coming in, where they can do these sort of recreational things. I think it's
So,
definitely something that is, you know, for you an opportunity, you know?
yeah, while we're on that tangent, actually speaking about that, it's just so hard to get into this industry, right? Like to get funding and stuff like that. So now that it's now that I'm into this like over a decade, I've kind of created a sort of circle, and we do have things out there for our kids and whatnot. Like we have our own team. Is a guy named Wahid Khan, who is somebody I linked up with, and this guy is a genius. He's a Northeast kid, just like me, younger than me, 25 years old, but like his passion for wanting to help kids that are less fortunate in that sense and just like bring basketball to people, period, just bring basketball to everybody and organize it himself is unreal. This guy has the opportunity to make money. He owns Calgary Impact, who I'm teamed up with. I do all their training and all that. It's called Calgary Impact. And just like looking at his numbers, how he doesn't make a dime. It all goes to the kids. Every
Aw.
single bit goes to the kids. Actually, so much that I want to say something. We just went to Mexico with a group of unfortunate kids, non-rich kids, okay? Just normal kids, let's put it that way. And some of us actually went through, helping each other get there. And we dominated. We kicked ass on an international stage. We played against professional teams that were funded by X, Y, and Z, and we were just some kids with no money in our pockets, nothing. And we went out there and we balled and we made connections that these guys are like, yo, you guys are like, fuck, you guys are the shit. That's it. We don't even know what to say to you. You guys love ball. We don't give a shit how you guys
Oh,
like come in. This is that. And we did all this with a $750 per kid fee, and that included the whole season. The whole
that's
season.
amazing.
So where the fuck do your kids' money go when you pay thousands of dollars for like half a season for soccer?
Hockey, man.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, thankfully only one wanted to. One that's asked for it. We weren't even going to do it because of the cost and all that and time, but
Mhm.
one of our kids really wanted. So anyways, he's in hockey. Then there's all this commitment as, you know, as a team to do like fundraising. So we have to go out all day one Saturday, as many Saturdays, do bottle fun. You know, when all the kids come to the doors, we got to be those kids that came to the doors. And then we're trying to make money because you're trying to host tournaments. And so my husband and I are talking, we're like, it's amazing how much money and politics is in the game of hockey for young kids that
It's so
we're not even
politically
an
driven.
elite. We're just, you know, like really at the bottom here, not in some elite. So imagine what they pay. But all of this money you have to put forth. And so you're like, well, how can any marginalized communities, how can any families of color, how can people that don't have access to this actually partake? Like it's built for people that only have money. Or you get the one or two very, very resourceful single parents that can have figured out that wild system, because that's a hard one, right? To get resources and stuff. So sometimes it's disheartening, to be honest. Like I'm there and I'm great and I'm happy, but then I'm just like, it's disheartening how many kids could be playing such a cool
Missed
sport, great,
opportunities.
yeah, right, and we're it's all in it. And then the ice times,
Yeah.
are the early morning and late at night, and sleep is such a significant part of kids' development.
100%.
And so you think of all this and you're like, I don't know, this is supposed to be one of our big sports of this country, yet I don't know how this is the thing to do. So kudos to those kids that make it to the national teams and all that, because I can't imagine
Because
what their parents
the
are making them do.
all the funding goes to these fucking pickleball and racquetball for these
Yeah.
people that are already oil and gas executives looking to
Yeah.
have fun because they
Yeah.
have that kind of money and reach. And I'm
I
not
know.
hating on that either. I actually used to own my own gym. A little bit of insight on that. I had 8 basketball courts and stuff like that, all that set. So I know the full understanding of how much money you need to make per court in order for you to run this business. We were
Right.
making way more than that at that time than what we needed to run this business. And that kind of got me into a mindset like, I don't actually want to be part of this business because I'm
Yeah.
not. That's why I got out, because I realized like in order for me to be happy, I actually got to rob your ass.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so
Yeah.
this is not the right position for me to be in. I don't
No,
like
it's
this.
not. Because,
I'm
like, in
not
order
pushing
for us to
sports.
be healthy, we have to have our asses robbed. So it's not a great position for you to be in, and it's not a great position for the rest of us, especially those that think that's the way to be healthy. You know, like
Oh,
you can work out for free, absolutely.
yep.
But many of us, don't understand that because we're not in it in that kind of a way. So I appreciate you talking about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just that is something that I had got out with. I'm done with that kind of business because it's just not doesn't align with me in that sense. And I'm on a different path, like we spoke about. I really want to bring sports to kids, and this is what we're doing with in our little center with World Gym Sunridge, who's allowed us to operate like that. I'm a licensed partner with them, and that's why I've kind of middleman this with Calgary Impact and that. Now
That's
we got a
cool.
bunch of kids just ripping weights, having a healthy relationship with the gym at such a young age. So
Yeah.
when they do get that free membership at school now, they're going to be able to actually use it and not
Yeah.
detriment themselves. I'm helping them
Yeah.
push themselves forward, not kind of like,
Totally.
hey, come hire me. No, it's you should know how to do this. That's
Well,
it.
what I really like about what you're saying is like I have a kid that's going to be 14, and he in the last year and a half has started to sort of get into some physical activity. He's not a team sport guy. He is more of like go outside and work out or go to the gym kind of workout. But now he and his friends want to start working out, and unfortunately the school gym, those kinds of places is where the least amount of money is put forth. And so
Yep.
it's not great. And then you worry about at 13, 14, I love that you want to start a physical health journey, but then like I might have to go with you because
You're
I don't
scared.
need you injuring yourself. Like, you
Yeah,
know what
of
I mean?
course.
Longevity, this is what we're talking about. So it's cool to be able to think of like a Calgary Impact, as you said, a community where young people can go and learn the right way,
Hmm.
the healthy way to lift the weight or squat or whatever it is they're going to do. And the future is where we, kind of really can make those changes in terms of going from looking a certain way to, hey kids, this is what if you do this is how it'll help you as you get older. This is how
Hmm.
when you're 75 and you break a bone, you can bounce back. So can I just here ask you, like, you had all these sorts of beliefs and teachings about health and working out and sports and all that. You're also a new dad. Congrats. You have a
Thank
little
you.
man.
Thank you.
So when you look at this in the eyes of a father yourself, and then also like the son, dual hats, what are some things that you think you've had to unlearn as in the world of fitness and health and working out and all the sort of things we talked about? Lots of things to learn, but anything to unlearn?
Yeah, definitely. I've always been in a directive kind of section of fitness. Once I kind of picked it up, and as soon as high school was on its transition to kind of finishing, going into university, I already had friends that were like, you know what, like you were tiny, small, and now you're so ripped or whatever the case is. Like, I want to do it too. They believed in me, put it that way. Somebody that knew I had nothing like genetically kind of going for myself. And I did this. This is work ethic, dedication.
Mm.
And those people were like, I trust you. I want to work with you, right? And what I had to unlearn was, because I actually didn't know too much as a fresh new, graduate, I had to unlearn that not everybody operates the same way. So I
Mm.
need to stop like thinking that just because I work for me, it'll work for you. There are things here, factors that are truly going to negate your results versus mine in the same exact exercise based on your genetic, your health, where it's at today, your immunity, your diet. All these things play a role here. That's why
Mhm.
me and my brothers don't just look identical. We all have a certain different look, right? Because we all are brothers. We have the same genetic in a sense, but we're not identical. That's
Mhm.
not the way it works. So if me and my brothers are not identical, how are you and me going to be any sort of thing? So I really had to think about like, okay, well, everybody's a different body type then. So what do I do? Does every body type have a X, Y, and Z? So that's where my real like learning journey began there. I had to kind of understand traits of different types of bodies. Like, okay, if this is a bigger set person, let's see, are they actually naturally bigger? Let's look at that. Is that the case? Okay, well, maybe we should stop just trying to slam 100 pounds down. Like we don't need to lose 100 pounds. Okay, you're going to be heavier set. Now you can spend the rest of your life fighting it, or we could find this beautiful balance where you look good, you feel good, and you're you, buddy. And go and eat
Mm-hmm.
at the restaurant. Eat what you want. Just make up for it a little bit tomorrow. You're gonna go to the
Mm-hmm.
gym. You're not gonna screw that up. Or you want to be skinny? Well, make sure you ask every waiter for a nutrition list and all this and XYZ, because everything you eat, you're gonna watch. And that's such a hard, crappy life. I became a professional bodybuilder because my work ethic just made my body kind of go that way. And people were like, you should compete. And I said, no, 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 I don't really care about what you think of my body looking at it. But the competitor in me was just like, fuck, I should go in on that too. So,
Well, yeah, challenge
so
accepted. But
absolutely.
can I just ask you, because I know you're going to talk about the thing, but can you just expand on that? It's very interesting because what I'm hearing you say is a lot of, well, all of us, society has trained us to look at the outside shell to gauge, are you lazy? Are you fit? Are you successful? All that. And so one of the ways society does that is our weight, as you just talked about. And so what I'm hearing you say is like when you work out the way you do because you compete, we're in sports, you have a ripped body. And so now people are like all over your ripped body, but you're trying to say, hold on a second. This is the outcome of what I'm doing, but I'm not doing it to necessarily look this way. I'm doing it.
100%.
How do you get that out when everything, everything's so convoluted? Like everything that we say and do sort of, that's at the bottom of your Instagram scrolls, like at the top, it's look at this hot body, look at this ass, look at this, look at this, look at this.
That's the problem.
So how do we put that at the top of our scrolls, that message?
Number one thing would be, well, stop clicking on fat asses and
fair enough.
That'll help your algorithm. Okay. Part two of it is honestly, it's just like, it just starts with doing it for yourself. Okay. That's the number one thing. I always did this for myself, being smaller, and I did it with the wrong intention at the start. I wanted to be noticed. I wanted to have the hottest girlfriend. I wanted a girl to be like, I'm with him, for a physical reason. I was smart. I told you, I got good grades. No girl was like, I'm going to date this guy because he's going to be a genius. That's like a, not every,
that's just a cute rom-com.
Yeah, that's not real. Okay. So I wanted to like physically be attractive to the other sex. And I want that to be my go-to, that everybody's like, he's good looking or whatever and stuff. And it kind of transitioned into that. I got into modeling when I was in like high school, and don't even start about that. Back then, everybody was talking to me like, oh, he might be gay or something like that in that sense, just because I modeled, right? Here, now we fast forward today, everybody's a fucking model on Instagram, aren't you? Right? And so I just kind of like, I'm like, man, damn, like people really just nail you for random shit. Had I have started modeling for myself, I'd probably be somewhere in modeling then. But I didn't. I did it for the whatever comes associated to it. Slowly started getting older and started getting smarter and getting good at my job, like I was saying. And that's where I kind of started like feeling like people only like me because of my body. And everything changed after that. Immediately, I started wearing full zipper sweaters. I started all the time working out in a hoodie. You'll see me in a t-shirt. My clients literally to this day be like, why don't you take your clothes off on Instagram?
Oh my God.
And I know,
weird,
I know.
But
So
okay.
funny, right? They're like, well, because they're just saying, I just want to see your page grow. And it's so sad that me giving you free information is not going to make my page grow.
Yeah.
But me doing that might.
Yeah, right. I know, but that's I'm with you. I have to fight that too. Like sometimes with the podcast, just now we're on video, so it's like, do you have to look a certain way or what? But I'm like, well, I'm not going to like you if you want to comment on my hair being frizzy or my rolls sticking
amazing,
whatever.
way, so.
Like I appreciate that, but at the same time, it's like
it wasn't your
people
intention.
will say what they say if we're only going to. If we're only going to talk about where my exterior is, where your exterior is, then it's sad because we're missing out on like everything, like.
Yeah. So circling back to what you were what you were saying would be the best way to start getting like more of what you need and less of what we want,
Yeah.
It's reality is going and getting checked at the doctor. Okay. When you go to the doctor, it's so funny. This big revelation comes over you because when he's like, oh shit, buddy, you're a little bit too fat. And you're like, oh man, now I actually have to work out, right? And so if you just kind of like have those things in your head, knowing that there are illnesses, sicknesses, just the knowing of what your body is supposed to be. Have you ever gone to the doctor and seen a diagram? They never show you a diagram of a fat person. It's always a diagram of a fully shredded person, because
100%, man.
that is the optimal you. They're going to show you the optimal you, the more muscular body. Being muscular doesn't make you large. That's a totally like a misconception. That's called being overly muscular. Bodybuilding is not healthy in the terms of what these bodybuilders look like. This division of physique that I used to compete in used to have men come in at about 175, 180 shredded. And now that is attainable. But today, that very division has grown to 230 to 240. This is the small division. 240 pounds of a ripped man in the smallest division. What the fuck are you asking from these people?
That's the thing. It's like we see this finished result. You see the person after the weight loss journey at the bodybuilding competition, but not the shit that they went through and what they did, or the pain, the harm that, one would put themselves through to get to that. And there's all sorts of reasons why people do it. So I'm not one to sit here and say, don't do it. Like, I get it. People have to do it for all sorts of things. But if we're doing it to live that way, I think that's where we do have to keep talking and say that's just, we're going to die. We're going to die pretty quick there if we live that way. I get, you do it for a shoot, you do it for a bucket list, you do it for all sorts of things. Like, I get that. Some people, it's a mental health journey, but when we're living that way constantly.
There's a little quote that I kind of follow, and it was like, I can't remember it specifically exactly now, but it was, everybody wants to mimic the result, but nobody wants to go through the process.
Yeah.
So when they see you on stage, they go, I want to be like that too and win too. But nobody wants to know or go through the right process, like what you did to get there. And just a small thing on this bodybuilding thing is, most of these people kill themselves in 8 weeks to get themselves onto stage like that. They do this small, tiny 8-week window. I trained, how I tell people, 13 years for one show. Whereas somebody goes, I trained 8 weeks for this show. That's just the difference. And when you were on stage, you were depleted and dying. I was eating chocolate and I won, because I didn't do this. I didn't do this short, taking all this, taking all that, all these things. I balanced at this level. I was shredded, whether I eat McDonald's or not. I had found my balance, and I took the time to get there. I didn't rush myself there. It's called homeostasis. It's when your body becomes like this. Everything's good. It's found its balance. It's found the right amount of fat due to the amount of stuff you're putting into it. Also, the output is also being pretty balanced out now. So you just stay lean and healthy forever.
Yeah. And by output, optimal. Are you talking about bowel movements? Because that's a huge thing, right?
Yeah.
You and I talked about that before. Like, what's the poop like? That's what you always ask your clients.
100%. That's how I start. So it's funny. I put all my clients on like diets and stuff as we get there healthy. I never actually starve my clients. You can ask them for that. What we do is we go on this 100-gram club that I say, like, there's only certain people that make it to this club. And that's the 100 grams of protein to start. Nobody here is under 100 pounds as a woman. I don't know very many. And if they are, we'll do something else for you. But that being said, the average woman, whether you're 200 pounds, 300 pounds, or whatever, getting 100 grams of protein is pretty hard in the first place through food. So once they kind of get to that club is where we start making hardcore shifts on hard numbers. But I just try to get everybody to a general level of just health, just if you just eat protein, 100 grams, you're probably not going to have enough room in your stomach for other foods. And this is going to lift up your metabolism in the first place.
It's also a lot to accomplish, though. 100 grams, that's a lot. You definitely need help with how to do that. But the amount, when I have consumed the most amount of protein at a time that I can, yeah, for sure, the cravings aren't there. You're like a well-oiled machine for, operating in the day and all this sorts. Even just my body is functioning, where my hands aren't going everywhere. So I hear you with that.
It comes from that.
the poop, 100%, right? But I just love that question, because I've worked with trainers for like years, so many different ones, and we've never talked about, again, the function of your body. Like, you can do all these great things and look this way, but you're not pooing. You're having all these other, right? Like, so, okay, where's the line?
What, we have babies now. I have a baby in my life,
You
right?
do
So
have a baby.
you watch his poo, don't you, to see like if things are okay and things like that, because they can't talk to you, right? Meanwhile, we'll
Yes.
just be shitting a puddle away and be like, I'm fine. This is what I'm saying. Like, we as humanity have lost somewhere common sense. If we care
Yeah.
about it so much with a baby's health, why do we stop caring about it for ourselves? So there is something to be said here about how
Good point.
regular stool. It's just a really simple system. You want to lose weight? I bet you if you shit twice a day, it'll help you.
If anything, the biggest part, I think, maybe for some of us women about wanting to lose weight, I will put my hand up and say, at least for me, is the tight, bloated feeling that you're like kind of feeling like you're ripping out of your skin. And so it's not necessarily that you have weight to lose, but the bloatedness amps it up and sometimes will make us feel, or make me feel like I have 70 pounds to lose. But when I have figured out my diet, my workout routine, all these sorts of things that work for me that help me poop regularly, daily,
Right.
I haven't lost weight. I just am not tight
Bloated.
and bloated, and like, I can wear pants now. And so there's such a significant difference. So sometimes we're treating something like the basic, which is just lose weight. That's always the throw that one, and see if that works. But there's all these other things that we need to tend to. And I'm not even talking about our hormones and our age and all that, right? So, but we're going to get there. If I were to ask your clients, what would the women that you work with, what would they tell us about you?
Ooh, I'm an asshole. No, they're such good people, first off. I'm just so blessed to have these clients that I have specifically. I think they would say that first off, I'm human. I don't expect you to follow a diet letter by letter, period by period, gram by gram, if you've never done it in the first place. So I gradually work my way in with you. We start off with small milestones, then we work on bigger things from there. And then that way, step by step, it seems attainable. Because most women come to me with a goal that's most not attainable. They're about like overweight and they're like, I want to be 120 pounds. And, and I'm like, well, you're fucking 5'9". You can't be 120. You're a taller woman. You need to be like 130, healthy. Just fuck, right? So I think that they would say that I'm very patient. I'm very understanding of their lifestyles. It's hard for me to speak on their behalf.
No, I was curious. I think you did that well. Why? Okay, so let's go to why women's health. So why are you so interested in helping women get their workout on?
Well, I think first thing is because genetics play a bigger role in women than it does in men. And I told you that this all started from me having no genetic advantage. And knowing that a lot of women probably have a genetic disadvantage, not advantage, disadvantage on this situation, it kind of guided me to be like, oh, fuck, man, that's like somebody who's going through what I'm going through times 10. So it's so stupid, but I related more to the women because they're petite or something like that. And they always have goals that were like, I want to get abs and get strong. And I'm like, well, fuck, me too. Right. Well, and most other guys were like, I just want to bench 230, 240. I just want to, right. They didn't have the same goals as me. I literally wanted to look like an action figure all my life. Like people played with dolls and shit. I looked at that Ken doll and I was like, man, that guy's fucking ripped. Like even they're selling that to a little girl that you need to look like that, And so I knew right off the bat that I was like, that bodybuilder thing, it's gonna phase out one day. And sure as hell, today, all of our Nike ads, all of our Bollywood movies, everybody's going towards that lean, ripped teenager next door look, right? Suddenly Shahid Kapoor, that one guy that looks like a young fucking guy, is back in movies, right? Showing his bodies because they're all going towards that fucking Justin Bieber look now. Nobody wants to look like that grown man chiseled with the beard. That shit's fading away. It's all going to little boy look.
So no more Jason Momoa.
It's like, what's Zac Efron? That guy's still a fucking college boy in every movie.
That
And
guy's
he's like
massive, though. That guy's like, I honestly think he can't wear a shirt because no shirt could fit him. Like he's just
action figure.
huge. Yeah, totally. And I always laugh about that too, like because it's like my husband and I, because we're also smaller people too, and that's never the look that we could ever also attain. I couldn't be J Lo or Beyonce, and he couldn't be Arnold. So,
Right.
but we joke about sometimes, it's like we're grateful because if you get to that level, imagine like being 60, 70 or whatever, and like now you're, like it's gonna fizzle out or whatnot. You can't maintain that. And so
Mhm.
what happens as you get older, what happens to your muscles, what happens to the rest of your body, because I know how I work out at 43 is a little different than when I worked out at 23. So I would imagine by 63, 73, I can still do it, but it'll be a bit different, right? So just you work so hard to get somewhere, and then the maintenance. And I know
Mhm.
for a lot of the consumerism world, that's why maintenance is cosmetic and pills and needles and things like that to maintain, because it's not realistic to stay that way.
This is where the education has come into today. Like it's very in your face that the average lifespan for a professional athlete is like 15 years in their career. Sorry, lifespan, career span. It's like 15 years. Well, they start at 16, 17, these genetic freaks, and they're fucking done by 35. And then there's people like LeBron who spends $1 million on his body per year, not to make him stronger, but just to prolong it. And he's out here, what, 42 years old, competing with these 18-year-old kids and still being the best. Now, this is something that we need to take. You need to take this into consideration. Technology and science had advanced so much that it's now giving you a reason to want to help yourself. You now understand massage guns. They've always been around. Massage guns. Suddenly, everybody fucking has one in their house, right? And they just go on in. Like, these are all like, it's a fad now to take care of yourself. They're doing it for the wrong reason, but they're still doing it. So we are transitioning into like a more educated era of maintenance and longevity. But this is another thing that's a whole other ball game, is that when you force somebody, or not force yourself maybe, or push yourself to a limit, you're also fighting this biological clock. And
Mm-hmm.
you think that you're prolonging your life, but you're actually knocking away at a healthy life. So just so you can look ripped for longer, you're going to suffer in the future like that. It's not the healthy point for you. However, again, there's genetic people out there like myself that are
Yeah.
lean in this
Yeah.
sense now. I'm lean now. I've altered my body to a point where after like 10, 15 years of strength training, I could give up for 2 months and I'll still look like decent, we'll say. You see what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
forever. I earned, not bought, not stuck in my arm, you know?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
actual muscle tissue. That is longevity. That is what
Right.
it is. So speaking of
So,
longevity, it's
yeah.
sarcopenia. I'm sure I nail this all the time. So women's health, sarcopenia. This is the main thing that you're trying to fight. And it's the degeneration of protein cells. And you go through this literally after 30. Period. Every person, we go through it. Men hold their muscle longer because of the elevated testosterone level. Now, that's
Wow.
something that's becoming more and more apparent in studies for men. However, they're just not putting the fucking money in to study it on women because it's on such a small level. It's such small doses. Like where we measure something in 1.0, you guys measure it in 0.01. So they're just like, this is not worth it. But it is worth it because 0.01 and 0.10 are fucking double the value, and that will help you, might be the difference between you
Mm-hmm.
changing your strength training regimen. And there's just so much that falls into this too, right? Like
Well, yeah, like if
make
you even look at I'm in my 40s, so that's top of mind. But like hormones, when perimenopause, and for a lot of
huge.
us women, like the testosterone levels are and estrogen levels are kind of depleting, increasing, and there's all these sorts of differences happening. And so for me, my testosterone levels were so high, but my estrogen levels were so low when I was entering. That's how we learned that I was entering perimenopause, and it was impacting me on so many different
Oh, your
levels.
mood must have been wonky as
Oh,
fuck, right? Like,
100%,
yeah.
100%, right? Like you would think that I'm just taking steroids all day long. And so
Hmm.
all these sorts of things were going on. And then I was like gaining this kind of weird weight. And then
Muscle density, but it's not looking so good,
it's not
right?
looking so good. And then you start to feel disheartened because all you care about and all you're taught all your life, no matter how educated you are, is you have to look it in order to say that you are it. And so then, then you just start to close more doors than opening more sometimes with, where is this coming from? What is this about? And part of today's conversation is, we're here to help our community want to, or figure out a way to move more. And there are many ways to do it. And we need to understand that, like, we have so many more opportunities today. And so we have less reasons why we shouldn't be walking or whatnot. And the problem is, and you talked about this on your socials, like, most of the time people don't know where and how to start. So then, you see this in the new year, you see lots of people starting routines because it's like, well, then I'll start it in January because I don't know when to do it. And that's kind of the fresh start, or I'll start it in the summer or what. So all of these sorts of things come together, happen, and get in the way of us focusing on the healthy part, or the part that's going to help us work at our best. How do you help your clients sort of get started and maintain that motivation, or whatever that word is that keeps you wanting to keep, taking care of yourself and your well-being?
So I love that you said the word too, because I have a very strict policy on motivation. Okay. Motivation is not something you can fucking rely on, but what you can rely on is your own personal dedication, your own commitment, and just a free, like, self-will, the strength of your own determination to do something. I can rely on myself to get up at 6 a.m., whether I go to sleep at 2 a.m. or not. I can rely on myself. I fucking trust myself enough that way that my alarm will go off and I'll wake up. Okay? That's the reality of it here. But I can't rely on other things that are out of my control. So another thing would be, like, there's never a better time than now. Honestly, there's never a better time than now. And people hear that shit all the time. That, like, oh, you miss all the shots you don't take and all that shit. It's real. It's really like that. Like, if you don't start now, you can't fucking predict to start in January next year. Okay, and the other thing is, you've already started being unhealthy now. Why the fuck can't you start being healthy now? Every day you make a choice to be unhealthy. Every day you make a choice to be unhealthy. You take the shortcut this way. You don't walk. You don't do this. You don't do that. There's things that can nail on the average person all the time, right? But if you're choosing to make these steps, knowing so that there's a healthier step out there, you're choosing to not start now. So you can actively, be like, I'm not starting today. That's something I'm actively doing. Well, you can actively say, fuck it, I'll just start now too.
And it doesn't have to be perfect, right? Like, I think sometimes when we think we have to start, we have to go get the right workout clothes or running shoes, equipment, join the right gym, go to the right place, eat the right thing. So this is why it's hard to say, well, now's fine, because in your head you think this is what the perfection of working out is, versus starting now means we can just go for a walk down the block and back.
A funny story about this, you'll laugh at. We go to the gyms everywhere, and I have good workouts with my clients. Sometimes I just go for a workout with them, right? And I was working out with my client, and I was looking, and she's just saying, like, I don't know why the fuck this guy is doing bench, right? Like, he's just benching totally wrong. Like, you need to go over there and tell him. And I was like, no. She's like, he's gonna hurt himself. You need to go there and tell him. And I just looked at her and I said, there's fucking 450 pounds on that bench right now, okay? Yes, he's doing it incorrectly, but he's fucking doing it, okay? And you don't get there by just not doing it. You don't just hop on one day and get to 450. That's not, I can't do that after 13 years, okay? I can't do 450 on the bench. But that uncle, he was an uncle. He was a proper dipper uncle, dude. And he was just benching it. And I told her something. I said, here's the thing, the analogy behind it. He's been fucking doing bench wrong for the last 20 years probably, but he's still benching. Mm-hmm. That's all I can say to you, okay? He's still benching. And that chest is beast, buddy. Look at him. Uncle's doing 450. So there's something.
So then why is it wrong? So if you see, like, if, how is that wrong then? Like, what would be wrong? His form?
Technique was wrong. Yes, absolutely. Form was wrong. And maybe, like, the fact that he benches every freaking day is wrong. There's no room for healing.
Fair enough,
that kind of stuff, other nitpitty stuff. But the point is, he gets up, he comes, he gets it done, and he works his ass off and he goes home. And just doing it wrong for 10 years has made him do a bench better than me, who's a professional. And I'm just trying to say is, give the guy some credit, but not so much.
He's not being perfect, but he's doing it. Yeah, I think that's the thing is that, and that's what people worry about is I'm going to go to this gym and, you know, the hot girls in their Lululemons and the really fit guys and all these people are going to stare and then they all know what they're doing clearly, but I don't know what I'm doing. And so then there's all these reasons because we don't realize everyone there had their own reason of why they probably shouldn't have come today. And, you know, like I don't want to compare myself, but that's what we do. And so I think reminding ourselves that big thing is like, it doesn't have to be perfect to start somewhere. The girls that I work out with at my friend's house are what I've loved and has helped me sort of build. It's like scaffolding is there. Sometimes you don't want to work out because your energy levels are low. And so then you think, well, today's like chest day and I can't bench, you know, like whatever it is I normally would do. Okay. I bench 65 people. So how awesome is that? I'm so proud of myself. But let's say I'd be like, oh, I can't, you know, so what's the point of going? But one thing that we all said was like, we're going to show up. And then today, like you just bench the bar, like the 45-pound bar. If you can't do that, then we'll just bench the free weights. But the point is like we showed up. We're here, you know, we got up, we got out of the house. And I think sometimes when we know that, you know, you either have the best workout or you feel good that you did it, you know, so that's what I mean by you don't have to be perfect.
Respect for yourself. Like I'm working at something that I might not be good at day to day, every single day, and I'm getting better at it. This gives you like the ability to like promote yourself in your own head. You believe in it now. You know, some things don't look so like hard to do. I never thought that I would be where I am today in terms of my body or anything. But as things got more and more closer there, and I started realizing, oh, I can do this. And now today I have a goal for my future. I'm 31 right now, and I have a goal for when I'm 35. I want to get to that. I'm giving myself the ample time. You see, this is a lifetime goal. I'm not saying at the end of this year I'm supposed to get it. I understand that since I've been doing it for so long. But as a newcomer, they come in and they're like, no, at the end of this year, I need to become that. Well, shit, if you could do that, you might as well take my job. Like, fuck. You know what I mean? Like, if it was that
because
easy.
you have to be the experts of everything, right? Like,
oh my God,
I got to be better. If I'm not going to be the best, you know, if you ain't first or last kind of mentality there. And I think this message, you know, that we keep talking about today, it's like worth repeating over and over because we, for some reason, think, oh yeah, I know that. But there's all these sorts of things that get in the way of us doing some sort of physical movement that will benefit from, you know? So, okay, I want to ask you a couple things here. So can I just spend some time here and ask you about like, what is functional training? What are we talking about? And what is this shifting? Like what is this shifting from aesthetics to functionality? Like, can you share a little bit about that?
So there's a fine line between people who like do bodybuilding and people who go to the gym. Okay, there's a big line here, and there's a reason why I've been an athlete in sports, in multiple sports: basketball, soccer, football, hockey. I've played everything, volleyball, badminton, and the way I train to get better at those sports versus the way you train to get bigger and stronger aesthetically are two different things.
Yeah.
Now, in order to get better at sports, you got to be able to do something ability-wise, okay? So ability is what you gauge yourself as an athlete by. What is your ability? Can you do this? Can you do that? That's what makes you better. If you're a basketball player, can you jump through the roof? Yes, that'll probably make you better. You know what I mean? Are you fast? Are you big and fast? So these are abilities. Whereas in bodybuilding, it's just like it doesn't fucking matter what you can do. What you look like is all that matters. And that also only on that day, not even like what you look like for the year, just that day what you look like for the show. So this is where I feel like my training took a huge shift, is when I stopped being a bodybuilder and I went back to my origins of an athlete, which made me a bodybuilder physique, not mentally. And functional training is the training of ability. That's literally what it is. In layman terms, somebody could give you a long description of what it is. But the easiest way of putting it, it's your ability, working on your ability. Who the fuck deadlifts 400 pounds of groceries? When? When did you get groceries on a bar broomstick like that you lifted them all up in that fucking strict position, X, Y, and Z, you know? That's not going to help you. I do believe, yes, deadlifting will help you.
But it'll make my ass pop. Okay?
Exactly, right? I know. It will. You're right. But there's a way of making your ass pop. And actually, when somebody sees your ass the next time too, they know that like, fuck, she can jump.
Right. Yeah.
So this is where the functionality aspect comes in. Rather than making you show me your hip hinge and whatnot with the deadlift, there's a place for that too if I'm trying to find these specific
Yes.
errors or problem areas. I find it better for me to have put you through rigorous testing of reality, of real life. So holding those weights and walking, farmer's carries, and that specific machine we did, like it's a beautiful machine. Again, shout out to World Gym Calgary that they didn't buy all this douchebaggy material equipment. They buy amazing equipment to help people actually become healthier. And that's why I'm there. And yeah, that equipment piece specifically will help you in your day-to-day life. Your kids are going to get older. They're going to live their own lives. You know, let's hope they're around. They help all of us. Like we all want to do that for our parents. But hey, shit, even parents get up and go on one day, right? And
Yeah.
so who's going to carry your groceries for you up a hill if it's a little bit of like 5-6 steps in your new townhouse in New York you and your husband decide to go live in and situate yourself in? You got fucking
100%.
3 floors of steps to go
Yeah.
up to your kitchen. And you need to carry your bags there. And if you don't care about that now, you will when you move in, buddy. I promise you that. And so things like this is what I try to help people with. Like I just took a flight back from Mexico with my kids and the basketball kids, and I saw so many people struggling to put the suitcases above that you should have seen me. I literally told these people to sit the fuck down. I'll put their shit things up. I put them all. I put 6 of them up. And then the lady sitting next to me on the way down, I was like, yours is the pink one, right? She's like, yeah, if you don't mind. I'm like, no problem. I grabbed it, put it down for her. Because I'm so like, it gives me the ick. The fact that you can walk around, go on vacation, but you can't even fucking lift the suitcase above your head.
Dude, I know.
Oh my God.
100%. And like, I'm going to do like a confession. I get anxiety when I'm traveling without my husband because I know I can lift it, but it's like this fear of like, what if I drop it or whatnot? And I'm always afraid, am I not strong enough? And and even like my oldest just moved to the basement. Every morning when I go downstairs to wake him up and walk back up, I'm like, he's going to keep me young because this is what I remind myself. I'm like, where's my stamina? Can I walk up these stairs? And, you know, when I'm carrying the laundry basket, now I would look at those things in a bit of a different way around, okay, this is why I'm showing up tomorrow to do chest day or whatever it is. It's not to pump. It's not that. It's so that all these my body parts can help me
do you
the
know
fucking bits.
You gotta walk at Stanley Park from your fucking car to your picnic place as a family? And like obviously all of us husbands were like, let us pick up the shit. Every husband's dying in front of me. I'm watching them. I'm like, oh my God, let me not
Chivalry's
get you embarrassed.
not dead.
Yeah, fuck sakes, man. Yeah, exactly. They're dead, not chivalry.
It's literally those things, right? So it's like, okay, you know, you go on your diet before you work out, great. But I think if we can, you know, really enter this like community of looking at these things in a different way, it'd be amazing to see how less judgy we also become towards others. Because we're all worried that others are judging us, but we're doing the same thing when we're looking at each other in our bathing suits. You know, like really, I look at you because I'm comparing myself. I'm not good enough, am I? And I know you are too. And so I think when we start to look at working out or looking at our physical health without the pressures of I got to be perfect and be a bodybuilder or look a certain way, it starts to feel with less anxiety, starts to feel like, oh, I met my goal of the day. I did some kind of movement, whether I went and worked out with Vishal or I went for a walk or I did something. And then it's like learning about, okay, what are some other ways I can continue to challenge myself? So I started out walking great, but I think that's the thing about not perfecting it is eventually we can get to the gym. Start somewhere. So you want to add to that? Yeah.
Yeah. You were saying the 3 S's. It's come back to me again. So
yes,
this is where,
your framework. I love your framework.
So the framework around a muscle should be simply, I believe in my own kind of the thesis of my training is that you need to tackle 3 S's of every muscle. And the 3 S's are either speed, stamina, and strength. And the reality is that a muscle is type 1 and type 2 muscle. The 2 fibers in the muscle do 2 different things. One's for like an exertion of power and one's for like a long-term speed, stamina kind of thing. But the fusion of these type 1 and 2 muscles are what differentiate like an athlete from an average person. It's that not only are they fast, but they're strong too. So You see how like they're hitting both things, and then they have stamina too to match it. So I feel like when you're doing like an exercise and we're doing lower body, we should work on the strength aspect. Sure, squat's a great way, but we should also work on the stamina of our legs, biking, maybe even just running, maybe running uphill sprints, things like that. And we should also work on the speed of that too. And the speed can be determined by simply running from point A to point B, or it can be determined how fast you bring the weight up. So there's so many things here that are like, that's where I feel like here's my value for you. This is what I do for people, that you're doing the lifting, you have the workout, but it's these small things that I'm doing here that are kind of a little bit of too much information for the average person to have. It's hard for them to kind of absorb all that. Oh, I'm working on speed for my hands. What the fuck? I'm not a boxer. What do I do? Right? Like, it makes sense, right? So this is where I come in, and I'm like, I bring you to a upper level of training, I like to say. So that's why the three S's, if you tackle the three S's in your body as an entirety, do not look at yourself as, this is my chest, I need to hit the three S's. First, look at yourself as an entirety. I need to be fast. Okay, I'm going to do some skipping, some running, some rowing, some sort of cardio thing. I want to be strong. Okay, I'm going to do a deadlift maybe. I'm going to do a bench press maybe. All these other things, they have a place right there. And now I want to do something for stamina. Okay, I'm going to hold this ball in front of me that's 20 pounds like this for 30 seconds. And next week, I want to get to 35 seconds. Get better at the small things. And it's so often than not that our community specifically, we are so based on fucking strength, okay? And I think it stems from our sick warrior background, okay? Where we should just be strong, 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 strong. Now, I'm not getting into the huge like religious aspect of this, but I am going to say one thing. Every fucking religion tells you to take care of your body. Every religion, one way or another. In Sikhism, there's the whole thing about body cleanliness. In our case, we have all of that there. We have literally everything. Your body is a temple. There's like, there's stuff in the Guru Granth Sahib and the Bani, and so many things that you can quote that says take care of yourself, right? Dude, eating 500 carbs a day as a vegetarian, okay? 600 carbs a day, and then coming to powerlift at the gym with your stomach sticking out fully is not fucking being healthy. I'm sorry. So our community keeps pushing the image of a strong, healthy gym guy that fucking way. That they're just, big ass fucking solid guys and all that. That's not healthy. And so it's not their fault either, that they just go after benching all day and the strength too. It's what we're pushing.
Yep.
However, that very person has a cholesterol problem, has diabetes, cannot run. Their kids are in soccer and they watch from the sidelines. My thing I prize myself on is I will play on a team with my kid. I promise.
That's another reason why we do that kind of functional sort of exercising, is exactly that. If we have families or, seeing my parents now with my kids is such a reward, because, while they're maybe, they say they're slower and whatnot, as, they're aging, it's
good,
really
right?
nice to see, they have this energy that I think, we lose over time,
care of
right?
themselves a little bit, and like straight up, it amounted to this much. Now, if you put in double the effort they did, which isn't a lot because it's on a span of a life, you're going to live that much healthier for that much longer. So that's why the 3 S's is something you just put into your head, that I come to the gym and it doesn't matter if it's leg day, shoulder day, whatever day. First off, you're not being judged, okay? You think you're being judged. Most of us are in there doing our own fucking thing. And we're so self-absorbed, all of us with people, we're not even looking at you. We're fucking looking at ourselves. It's so bad. In this Instagram era, everybody's got a film up. They're not looking at you. It sounds bad. You might be in the back, but they're so oblivious to you being in the back because they're just staring at themselves. So this is a very self-centric kind of
man, right?
industry.
It's like, yeah, I know. And I think that's sort of what turns some of us off from that too. It's like any good thing that just sort of gets convoluted and taken over by the extremists. And this whole gym sort of thing has become that over the years. And the money that, we have to put to look and all these things in it as we're talking, all that sort of confuses a lot of people. And I think that's the whole point of today is, okay, start somewhere. Where's that place to start? And if people that are listening today that are like, okay, maybe getting to the gym to Vishal tomorrow isn't going to be the first step, but it's something that I'm curious about. I'm going to go, what would be the thing to do?
Let me toss you a few steps here. There's no actual guideline to this, but I think a few steps would be number one. Number one thing would be after every meal, walk for 15 minutes. That will ensure the digestion of your meal. Whether it's ass or not, you will digest it, which is the most important thing. Bloat comes from indigestion, okay? Which is why all these supplements that we take today for anti-bloats, look at the back of them, and if you educate yourself, the ingredients are just fucking laxatives. Go take Metamucil, save yourself the $80. Okay?
Yeah. Which
So that's just
fiber is always good too, right?
amazing, right? So that's number one would be to walk after every meal. Number two thing would be is like, yo, do your hobby, do your passion. Do you like to ride the bike? Just ride the bike. Do you like to watch TV, a
Dance?
certain show? Yeah, do you like to dance? Dance. Okay? I dance every day with my kid almost. I don't like purposely, maybe not, but when I grab him, I hear music and we just dance around like that. I'm sure I'm burning calories. Shit, sometimes my heart rate's up,
Yeah.
right? Other thing is, if you work a job that you work in a building, take the stairs. It's actually so simple. Just take the stairs every day. Okay? And another thing, so aside from doing physical stuff, another tip would be aim for 100 grams of protein. I've said this. I keep saying it. Join the 100-gram club. Okay? When you're in the 100-gram club, your life will fucking change just from being there. You will automatically reverse half your fat into a healthier mass on your body. It may not be pure muscle, but you know what? Science has shown that a healthy diet can still build muscle on a body without strength training. So everybody's so worried about going to the gym. Why don't you worry about the fuel in your body first then, if you're so worried about the gym? Start with point B, right? So there's 1,000 things you could really do here. Simple. Go with your kids. Do activities with your kids. Don't just drop them to swimming. Go swimming with them. This is what I see all the parents do. I drop my kid off for an hour and a half so I could get some rest. What the fuck you need rest for? Shit, you need to go work out too.
What the fuck do you need rest for, he says. Actually, speaking of rest, that's the other thing is, actually, you know what? We're going to come to sleep. Can we do some little misconception bust for a second?
Yeah,
because
shoot.
you mentioned rest and I had sleep in here, and I think these are some things that we could probably work through that, again, things that get in the way or some of us are confused about. So first things first, maybe you've already said it. If there was one, common misconception that you see within our community, you sort of talked about a couple things. What would be the one that you'd want to debunk or point out today and hope that people can bust and move forward from and not follow or think is true?
There's a bunch of things. Number one thing would be like thinking that, oh, great one. I remember talking to you about this. Thinking that you're some sort of Lamborghini.
Oh my God, I wrote this down. I'm so glad you're bringing it up. Yes.
So, we all go about our life. Everybody wants a Lamborghini. Maybe you don't. There's another way of, you get what I'm saying. A luxury, okay? Top end luxury. Everybody wants that essentially, end of the day. You don't fucking need to fuel yourself to be a Lamborghini, meaning eating filet mignons only, the leanest meats, the most expensivest diets, the best proteins. All of these things. You don't need organics. Oh my God, that's a whole new other world. Organics. And like vitamins, $100, $200, $300, fuck
Yeah.
1,000. I've seen it. Everything. This On It stuff, you can like make your own plan. It gives you 3 options of your plan. One that's $1,000, one that's affordable, and one that's like really cheap.
Shit. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like you suddenly feel like if I don't pay for the $1,000 one, I'm not going to get any benefit out of this.
Totally. Yeah.
Right? So here's where I'm saying is stop thinking you're some sort of Lamborghini. You earn your way to be a Lamborghini, number one. You need to think about yourself as a fucking Honda Civic. You need to be Honda Civic lifestyle. And what you need to think there is a Honda Civic never breaks down. It runs every time in the summer. In the winter, it turns on with one go. It doesn't waste gas, but it doesn't burn it like crazy. And it doesn't just take the most expensive gas either. Okay? There's nothing about this car that's wasteful. Everything about it is efficient. First, become a Honda Civic, and then you can go and become a Lamborghini. But that's what I'm trying to say here is that people need to just, simmer down a bit, guys. Like, just put in gas. Make sure you have gas. You're running around with no gas all day, and you're like, I want to be a Lamborghini. Buddy, just have a full tank first. Normal food.
Like stop putting the cart before the horse. Like stop, doing the things that we know we can't even attain to prevent us from doing the things we actually are in charge of and can. It's like this whole seeking control over what can I be in charge of. Yeah, I can't be the Lamborghini yet. But you know what? Maybe I don't want to be that either. Because when my parts break down, they cost a lot to fix, but not with a Honda. I love that analogy. It just speaks to longevity, and that whole saying they say you're don't sprint the marathon. And sometimes we do that through life. We try to get through something from point A to point B, cut corners, get there because it's quick, fast, fast. All of that stuff sort of, that was introduced to us over the last 50 years with the way society works, industrial revolution, all that stuff. So with all of that, I think, we get caught up in then that imposter syndrome of, well, now I'm not that Lamborghini and I'll never be, I'm not good enough. And well, what's the point? But look at Vishal walking around as a Lamborghini, and that fucking Vishal's always, now I hate you. So I love the Honda analogy because you can compare that to so many things we do in a day where it's like, be proud to be the thing that will always be there.
The Lambo on. You can't pass the Lambo on to your kid. In my life, I've been around a lot of successful people in my life, and I've never seen somebody pass a Lamborghini on to their kid. But I have seen so many Honda Civics make it to the other generation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, in reality, it is something to be thought about. That less is more here in longevity. You don't need to crank out being a marathon runner and be the top everything and trying to place. Just fucking running a marathon is a feat on its own. Good for you. You made it through the marathon. Amazing. I bet you're healthier just making it through the marathon than trying to aim to be the first person. Like, you'll get there. Run another one. That guy didn't win his first marathon. That other thing too, like, I didn't just become a Lamborghini. Shit, I told you, I was like a broken down shitbox. I had iron problems. I was a small little guy, right? And so it's just like you feed into what you see, and you believe that this person is buying everything. Let me tell you something, Karen. I have forgot to take my protein for the last 6 months. I haven't taken protein. I have not taken a supplement of protein in the last 6 months, and it has not affected me any sort of fucking way. So I don't need to be this goddamn Lamborghini. Okay? That's my idea. So that would be one misconception.
I love that. Okay. Well, that's probably the best one. But okay, so what about the demands? These are all sorts of things that we're going to work through to hopefully help people at the end of this feel like, okay, I can do something and get to some way of the gym or working out. And so what are the demands of being at the gym? This is something that sometimes some of us think, okay, you have to work out every day. You have to work out 5 times a day. We're all built on the 9 to 5, Monday to Friday schedule. So if I don't go that many times a day, then I won't see results. Is that true?
No, that is not freaking true at all, okay? Everybody is a depiction of their hard work. Every single person you see out there. And sometimes that depiction isn't actually 5 days. It might just be 2 workouts and just a really hard diet. It's about finding what works for you. Now, I'm going to tell you this because this is something that's, again, a very common misconception. You go online, you go to Google, you type in strength training regimen for a beginner. It'll still be a 5-day regimen with a plan for the fucking rest day too, and a plan for the active rest day as the other day. Like, that's too much demand for even a student today. Most of my students, the kids that I have, they're busy with school and shit too. They can't even do that. How do you expect a 40-year-old person to do that who has never gone to the gym? Then a 50-year-old, then a 60-year-old. The worse, the higher it gets, the harder it is. So the real demand of this would be, why don't you start off with just doing better than yesterday? If you worked out once this week, then next week try to work out twice. Okay? That's going to benefit you. It's going to make a difference, because I promise you, if you worked out 2 times a week, strength training 2 times a week, in the rest of your year, you will see a difference. Your diet's contributing to that, So the demands of 5 times a week and eating 1 gram per pound of protein and 0.75 per pound of protein for your body. Like, I'm 150 pounds. I need 150 grams of protein. And if I do that for 3 days, then shit the bed for the other 4 days, is it really going to benefit me? No. But if I just joined that 100-gram club and I did 7 days like that, just balanced out, I will be healthier, look better, and actually be easier to do.
Totally. So, and as the older we get, the more, the goal would be to get to the 100 grams, but if the most amount of protein that we can put in us, especially as women, I know some of us are sick of this protein with menopause. It's like, fuck protein. But honestly, it's such a huge vitality master of whatever it's doing in our body for us when we are going through our hormonal depletion and all of the, lack of sleep, lack of, our mood issues, all these sorts of things. Like
a small scientific thing that needs to be attached to this. And as soon as you understand that, you'll understand the importance behind protein. And that is that all cells are protein. So the cell in your shit is protein. The cell in your eyes is protein. The cell making your teeth has a protein in it too. So every single thing along your body is based off of protein, but yet you think that it's not important. So
Yeah.
this is where you need to, like, just use common sense here. Some
Well,
of it
some
needs to
people,
be.
sometimes we just, and I always say we because I feel bad like outing anyone. And I'm like, what if I do this too?
No,
But
you're standing up for the common person. It's good.
totally, right? And sometimes like that's the thing is this thing where you just can't connect the dots because we're trained to also like understand our body so well and learn your body. And some people feel so attuned to their body and they think they know what their body wants. And most times I think we're on that. I know my body's missing or needing or what.
Huge.
But then there's this lack of education because there is so little time and energy put into women's studies and how these sorts of things benefit us. So today, a lot of like, I'm on that cusp generation, I always say, that could fall into the elder generation that just, I don't know, then I don't know. Or I could be the one that gets to use the resources, like educate, read, and all that. And so I think because some of us are raised and grew up with women around us that didn't know a lot of this, we sort of inherit some of that and walk around with, well, maybe, I need to go to the doctor for this thing versus the science of how most of us women, how our bodies work, which is we need the protein. We have things that break down that we need to supplement and
You guys
figuring
need
that out.
creatine.
Okay, creatine. Can I talk about creatine?
Do it,
Oh my
girl.
gosh. That's a misconception I'd like to talk about today is, okay, so you can help me because I don't know the sciencey stuff, but here's what I learned about it. A few months back, my husband was like, you should add creatine to your diet. And I was like, no. And he's like, yes. And I'm like, no. And the reason being is because I only pictured myself as having like a thicker mustache, all manlier, all those sorts of things. So creatine's not for me. I already have my own problems. And so anyways, then I didn't really read up on it and I just was like, fine, fuck, I'll start throwing a scoop of creatine. Then I started noticing some things and then I wasn't sure. I'm like, is this a creatine that's helping this or what? Then I did a little bit of my reading. And so I just want to put this out there and break some misconceptions, especially for us women as we get older, is first of all, we think that creatine is there to make us gain weight. That's not true. We think it's going to make us bloat and have gut issues. That's actually not true. Part of why we think that is because back in the day, those bodybuilder dudes, they use creatine to sort of like supplement their whole muscle mass increase.
Growth.
And when they were doing that, they were idiots and overdoing it. And so then they had, these adverse side effects, and very few side effects have actually been seen in us women when we use the amount of dose that we're meant to use. And I don't need to tell you what that is. If you're into it, figure it out. Like everyone has to figure out what that is for them. But what happens when we take creatine, because our muscle mass is sort of depleting in our 40s, creatine can help us women increase that muscle mass and then the strength. So creatine is a stuff that, okay, so wait, let's just talk. What is it? Okay, so it is, help me, it's stored in your muscles and then in your brain and your gut. And it's required for all of the body's fast, high energy, demanding activity. So think about in your day to day, like what part of you would need to go into that part of your body and use it? Carrying baby car seats that are so heavy, walking up and down the stairs, going to the gym, doing some kind of activity, all those sorts of things that we start losing as we get older. And then we get tired and we wonder why, we don't have the energy to go work out and those kinds of things. So what it does is improves our, exercise performance. So for all the women out there that are sort of like, am I going to get a thicker mustache or gain weight or no? No, none of that is actually what's going to happen. It's going to help our muscles sort of have the repair time as well, less fatigue. Also, huge thing. When I started doing this in the last couple of months, I noticed something with my periods and my moods before. And then I read up about that, and creatine can actually help us with our regular moods. And there are studies, very few, but there are studies that show the impact for us women with our depressive states and our mood disorders that we have and all those wonderful perimenopausal issues that we struggle with. Absolutely. So I know that this is like a quick 2-second thing, but these were sort of the highlights that I wanted to address in this misconception area, because I'm noticing a huge thing about it. And I would really encourage women to like do your research, read up, ask your doctor, do what you got to do. But there may be something in there that we can actually benefit from, I'm finding is working. So anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think you understand creatine. That's what I'll say.
I'm like so happy that I like went and did my reading, and my husband was so happy too, because it's one thing someone like you said, someone tells you to do something and don't do it. Like, go figure it out for yourself, right? It's like that's my thing is I trust people more than I trust myself.
Yeah, but
sometimes
sometimes it comes from a more trustworthy source, and you feel like it's simple as that. It's a trustworthy source. You can believe them. You listen to them, and you look to them for guidance in that sense, and that's totally fine. Everybody has that in their life, and you should have that in your life. You should have people that you can actually trust what comes out of their fucking mouth in this world, And so that's totally fine. That's good. You're absolutely right what it does. I think that a big thing for creatine with women is, well, let's get, like you said, you're right. What it helps with for your muscles is it actually injects your muscles with water. You basically have more water in your muscle, which is holding a better state for them. A muscle that's well hydrated is a muscle that is better. Okay, it's going to be able to do its function better. It's going to do its role much better when it has water in it, considering our bodies are made of over half water.
Yeah.
So you injecting water molecules into your muscles is only going to help you look fuller too on your muscles. So sometimes the ladies, that the aspect that people are talking about, that it makes you bulky and whatnot, it doesn't make you bulky. You won't gain fucking muscle from just taking creatine.
Yes.
That's not what it does. It'll help your muscle perform better to gain the muscle.
Whatever that thing it is you need, is it the motivation? Is it whatever? There's sometimes it's like naturally parts of it in our body that are depleting or missing that we need to figure out, right? To help us get there.
We have creatine in our body naturally, and we actually get creatine through meat, and most of the meat is our larger contributor to putting creatine into our body.
Good old red meats are the ones to go, and that's also where the 100-gram club comes in, right? Am I learning? Am I doing good?
You're absolutely right, because it's small little lesson on that. It comes to taking a piece of chicken, 100 grams, taking 100 grams of beef, and taking 100 grams of like lamb, and then doing the math between it all. Like, okay, well, this gives me that much protein, this gives me that much, and this gives. So the beef and the red meat is generally more bang for your buck if you're trying to get more protein in, right? However, there's also huge cholesterol problems in our community. However, good cholesterol also comes from these meats too. So I can't help but realize that, hey, us as an Indian society, like just as a collective, we have a cholesterol problem constantly, and our genetics go back to not eating beef or red meat in general. So is it the fact that we are just not able to actually metabolize and use this cholesterol over time as a genetic evolution? That's what it's done to us, right? So when people go like, oh, I have a cholesterol problem, I don't eat beef. It's like, fuck, man, buddy, you might actually like regulate a little bit better with some beef in your life. You need that too. If you want vitamin C, go eat an orange.
Yeah.
Why do you go straight to the vitamin C vitamin? Why won't you eat the orange? Okay? If you need potassium, why don't you eat the banana? If you need salts, there's so many different ways to get good salts in our body. So my question is, we always go to the thing that's easier, right?
Yeah.
So yes, supplements do make our life a little bit easier when used correctly. So another thing that this creatine does is it's associated to adenosine triphosphate, ATP, which is what makes your body do things like this, snappy, fast. And the only way ATP and things work is it's an all or nothing module. So in order for something in a response to happen, let's say 50% is the threshold. It has to pass 50% for anything to happen. If you hit 49, it wouldn't do anything. It wouldn't fire the response. Okay? So no response would happen. So creatine helps you get enough ATP in order to make things happen. Okay? That's a very, very like nerdy way of getting into it. However, just an easy way to say this is women need creatine for cognitive function, which is more needed than your muscles. Okay, your brain needs it more. And that's truly because the testosterone levels of men having elevated muscle on their body were able to store more creatine. Whereas you guys just naturally, you girls naturally have breasts and a more fattier hip.
Yeah, we store more fat, totally.
Exactly.
Baby making all that, yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. So these things require you to, make up for what you're missing. And creatine helps you with brain fog, makes you snappy, makes you remember. It's amazing for your memory. And in
Yes.
terms of side effects, you don't see side effects on creatine until you start going with stupid, ridiculous amounts.
So
100% an easy one would be like if you're not drinking enough water and you're taking creatine, then you'll put yourself in a very bad state too. You'll be dehydrated almost. You will be like, think about it, your body will be sucking water out of the organs to put it into the muscle. So in
yeah.
one way or another, it's gonna, if you take creatine, it's gonna use it. But now it's not getting enough water through like your actual consumption, so it's gonna take it from another place. And
Right.
you don't have control over that, what it's taken it from.
Yeah.
Right? So that could be a downfall in terms of things catching on after that. You can get a UTI for not having enough water, and you have all this bacteria, acidic piss. You could get gallbladder stones. But these are all things that people will just hear me say. Creatine is something that I will, in this podcast, if you are afraid of taking supplements or anything, I stand on creatine. I think that it'll only help you or nothing if you stay within 5 to 10 grams. 10 grams is fucking crazy,
Yeah.
personally. It's a big scoop, man. I don't know how people are taking that, but for me, 5 grams is good, man. But there are people who are 200 pounds bigger than me, double my size. They might need 10 grams. Fine. Do not exceed 10 grams. And this loading phase, don't double scoop and all that shit. Loading phase of creatine just means you might need to buy 2 tubs, not fucking finish one faster. Buy 2 and just continue to use it. Your body will load it on its own. Your body's not some sort of warehouse where it's going to hire workers and put it into storage now. That's not the
That's a
way it
good point,
works.
though. We hear about this loading thing, when you go to a supplement store or you hear people in the like this bodybuilding kind of mentality. It's like you got to load, and that's a really good point to
load
we're
like a
not today.
gram
We're not
more.
talking about the bodybuilding world. So if anyone's in your list, like we get that. We're talking about the rest of us that very few are only in that percentile, right? So the rest of us.
This is the more normal person who just wants to live fit longer, okay? And just use these things to prolong their life, to be healthier for longer, not to stand on stage, okay? I'm not giving that advice. That's a different advice that I do give to people, but that's a totally separate ballgame. Those people are already very diligent with their,
right.
The rest of their practices. So, yeah, creatine is great for women.
And I appreciate that because I know we did talk about supplements and stuff. And so I really like how you also said like it can be taken naturally. So I don't want to send mixed messages. Like there are many things we said today, and really at the end of the day, it's like you do you. But if you're going to take something from us today, really what we're trying to point out is there are so many things that get in the way of us doing such a basic thing, which is like increasing, quality over quantity when we're thinking of our life. And we're just trying to remind ourselves to not get caught in that. And if it's too good to be true, which is like buying the things that, like you said, the vitamin C's and the things that, there's ways to go ahead and take some of these supplements naturally. So I'm not a doctor, totally. So go figure that stuff out. But the bottom line is there is a lot of stuff out there that many of us, at least my generation up, have been taught. And there's so much new research, so many new articles now coming out that are saying that's not necessarily what creatine was meant for. That's not necessarily what this thing was meant for. So I think I would encourage us to just do our part in being curious about the thing,
say, like just a few supplements that like you should go buy. I know people go to supplement stores and then they get like, holy, I need all this. No, you don't, man. You can use a protein for supplements, okay? To help you supplement your diet. Now, anything to do with supplements, please remember this. I do a 70-30 rule, and the better you get, 80-20, 90-10. And what that means is 100-gram club, meaning 70 grams of my protein came from food and only 30 grams came from a supplement. A lot of people joined the 100-gram club and 100-gram came from shakes. Dude, think about it. You're just filling yourself with powder, okay? Now you're being dumb.
Now you're not going to poo properly.
Yeah, exactly, right? So that's what I'll say. The 3 supplements that I stand by, go ahead and get yourself a creatine. Go ahead and get yourself a good protein, okay? You don't have to buy an expensive one. Things that make a protein shit just means that it doesn't have as much protein in it and it might have more sugar. But go ahead and buy it. If you have no protein and that's cheap, go ahead and buy it. You're not going to have no problem. Mom and dad, you think your kid's going crazy off protein? He's not. Just give him one. Just give them 1 scoop of protein a day. That's totally fine. Don't let your kid have a scoop every meal. No, now your kid might be crazy. Just one is okay. 70/30, you apply
Yeah.
that knowledge. That's that. And the last thing, amino acids or essential amino acids. So buying EAAs or BCAAs, they're actually not bad for you. They're good. They help you. But all the other stuff, you don't need it. And if you do think you need it, it has to be purposely, like a purpose, like taking greens powder and buying what's that greens powder that everybody buys? It's crazy expensive. AG1. Okay, so
There
AG1,
you go. Yeah, AG1. Okay.
right, is like $100, and there's another one made by Allmax, which is $35. Okay, now when you look at the back of these things, AG1 uses what's called a proprietary greens blend, meaning they're not going to fucking tell you what's in it. First off, so you're buying greens, but on the back of it, it's proprietary blend. Now on the back of Allmax too, it's a proprietary blend. Now go and take your inspector skills and go find out where these things come from. AG1 and the fucking greens from Allmax are coming from the same factory. And you're either
Mm.
paying $100 for the glass tin and the beautiful packaging and Kim K's endorsement,
Oh,
or like, are you here for greens and this proprietary blend at $30 is good enough? So this is something you need to do yourself. I
yeah.
can't help you with every brand, but I am making a new line of, videos, and I'm trying to do that to help people. Like, hey, these come from the same factory. This one's 50, this one's 100. It's up to you what you want to
Yeah.
buy,
Right,
right?
right.
Leave it
Yeah,
on
I
you.
think it's
But
like important to look at all those things. And it's so easy to look past it because the people of consumerism have done such a lovely job to make it more
packaging
subtle,
sells.
hide it, get you hooked to the person's story. So you love Kim K. So now you're going to obviously trust her and
Done.
go for it or what. So all those sorts of things, right, get in the way. Okay, but at this point, so let's do our middle fingers up segment. So this is a part of the show where we put our middle fingers up to something that's been bothering us. And I'd love to hear what it is that is on your mind.
I have to say it. I said I wouldn't say it in my heart, but I was like, fuck it, man. I got the opportunity to. I'm going to say it. Middle
Oh,
finger up to every single person who is out there trying to just be a trainer based on their own success. That's bullshit. Just because you lost weight doesn't make you a fucking trainer or a
mm,
coach. Okay. And just because you're really good at posting photos of your ass definitely doesn't mean your program is effective. Okay. So this is what I would like to say. I'm just nailing anyone and everybody who thinks that if you feel like that's you, it's probably because you fucking know you're doing it,
okay.
which is the reason why I offer all my services for free. All of this shit for free on my page. All of what other coaches are making you pay for, I'm giving that shit for free. If somebody comes to me and says like, I need a workout plan, I'll fucking print you off a workout plan that somebody else was gonna anyways. I won't charge you. There's a difference. But what, you think it's good because you paid money for it now? It's the same
Yeah.
shit you went on Google. Like, AI is insane. I can
Yeah.
literally put in everything you want and get that done. You are paying for somebody to just put your bio into AI and push enter.
Yeah.
Stop doing that. Stop making these trainers think that they're fucking trainers. I spent 13 years only to get to a place where today I'm healthy and able to take care of my wife and my kid and my dog in a sense. But there's someone out there who just lost 10 pounds and is really good at showing her ass, but is making $1 million off Instagram because we continue to allow her to fucking succeed because
Yeah.
her ass is what I want. Well, let me
Yep.
tell you something, honey. She's Colombian. It was genetic. Okay. Like that's what it is. So that's what I like to say. That just do your due diligence, man. And
Yeah,
to
I
your
think so.
coaches, don't fall for bullshit. Just,
Yeah.
do a little
Yeah.
bit of education.
Totally. I think that's a good point. There's a lot of stuff out there. It's easy to get caught in the flashiness or whatnot. And I think, the what do they always say? Like I don't know how to say it. The turtle one, the slowest whatever wins the race, whatever
Slow and
that
steady wins the race.
yeah, right? Whatever that one is. Yeah, just that, like if we stay true to our values, you stay true to like what is the end game? You're trying to make the community better.
Yeah.
We're trying to make the people that, are coming to you afraid to work out healthier. I think that's the end game is, and all the other stuff can feel, to be honest, it's like overwhelming. And then you feel a lot of
It
guilt because
is.
we don't look like that. We don't act like that. We don't have that. And that's all we want. So
Yeah.
doing this the last few years, that's what we've been talking about here is like, we can buy the celebrities and their books. We can go and look at all those stuff, or we can look at the real people, your neighbors, people at your gym, people at your work that have such, so many more relatable experiences and can talk about what is happening versus going to that really, high
Circles
end.
right back to the first thing I said, be human and try to actually help humans. If you got $100,000 to spend per month on your health, good for you. You can go beyond me. You can hire a fucking anything, biochemist to make your morning shake for you. And I bet you it'll be helpful. But like, you know what I mean? But not everybody has that. And fitness is not something that costs money. And that's all that I want somebody to know is that your membership may cost money, which is also something. Stop complaining about, guys. These equipments are $10,000 a piece. If your membership is $50 a month, shit's getting expensive. Everything's getting expensive. So like, it's okay to spend your money on your health. At least the membership, go there, use it. It won't be useless. The minute you go to the gym 10 times in the month, $50 sound like nothing.
Yeah, for sure. Right. And just like at what cost? I think that's the thing, is like looking at, okay, like at what cost am I doing this? This is worth the money. It's helping my health versus I'm putting all this money and I'm not really seeing anything. And
Kieran, Fit for Less is $5.
Yeah, totally. Honestly,
stop people saying shit about like, I don't have the money for this. Stop it. Okay.
Yeah.
There are people who have the issues, and I understand that. And I'm trying my best to help on this too. But stop, it's you. It's you. It's a you problem. It is. So
there you go. Well, I wasn't gonna do my middle fingers, but I'm gonna do one too today because it's kind of concludes what we talked about. So what I wanted to talk about was the phrase "she's so skinny." So in our community, we often, reduce someone's body to like that single word without understanding that person and their body's full story. And there's more to a body than being thin. And I think this oversimplification holds us back from encouraging movement and healthy habits. So I'm hoping that we can stop trying to get to this magical number of what is thin and then trying to stay in that magical number of being thin. Vishal and I sort of talked about the things that can get in the way and where we can get caught up versus how to stay true to like what is our own health today. And all of you out there, I'm sure, have a lot of good tips and tricks that you've been really trying hard to follow too. And so please send us your thoughts and ideas with that too. But just if we can stop saying things like she's so skinny and thinking that is the success or that's the thing, or I get this, I will get from people, oh, but you're so thin, and thank you, I guess, but it's this is my body, this is the type that I was born with, and I know when I'm working my ass off out there, it's not easier. Being genetic thin, like I am putting effort in, I'm showing up, I'm working on my mental health, all those sorts of things that, people that go and do. So if we can try to shift that, the rest, I think there can be more of us doing those 100%. Wonderful workouts that, people like you help put together. So that's my middle fingers up.
That's amazing. Actually, 2 days ago, somebody told me this in our language, Marabo hoya.
Yeah.
And like that person looked at me, their own daughter looked at me and was like, my husband wants his body. And the mom was like, yeah, khandani and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, like it's just so funny.
Yeah.
It's okay. It is what it is. There's no winning sometimes. So you just got to be content with yourself. I know I'm healthy, and that's the biggest thing. I got the confidence from my body telling me I'm happy, healthy, and I'm good to go. That's it.
I love that. Yep. I love that. Okay, well, you know what? Before we wrap up, like, is there anything, Vishal, that you wish I'd asked you today that I didn't, that you want to talk about, or anything you want to go back and clarify or add, or what with what we did talk about today?
I think the only thing I would like to add is that, like, if you're anyone, not just a woman, if you're a guy, if you're a kid, you're anybody who just wants to, get help with fitness, I'm here for you. I'm not going to sell you bullshit plans if that's not what you want. You know what I mean? Like if you're not looking to sign up for training and all that, I'm not going to sell that to you. I might get back to you a day or two late because I'm busy with my business and stuff too, but I'm here to help. So anybody with any questions, reach out to me. Like my community, thank God again, is freaking insane. I can get you what you need. However, whatever. Just fucking talk to me. Okay?
I was going to ask you later, but I'll ask you this now. So one more time then, how can people connect with you if they like to learn more or work with you?
I think the best way to connect with me is honestly with Instagram or my phone number. I am on Google. You can type in v.raw. v.aesthetics. I'll show up on there. I think my Instagram at v.raw.aesthetics is the best to reach out to me on too. I do understand that it puts me in a bubble where some people may not use social media and whatnot. So yeah, like if you have a friend that trains with me and you're afraid, just tell that friend to reach out, give the phone number, or get my phone number off Google. Simple as that. Go on Google, publicly available, type in my business name, and boom, you got my phone number. It's very, very easy. Just reach out. That's it. Or come to the gym. Come to World Gym Sunridge and say I'm here to see V. Say that. I'm here to see V. That's it. Come see me. I got no problem. Whether I'm with a client or not, you bet your ass I'll take care of you. I promise you.
I love that. Okay, so what about call to action? So if there was one thing and only one thing our listeners and YouTube watchers, because we are on YouTube now, if anyone is, if they were to leave with one thing, that's what I'm trying to say, what would you hope that one thing that they leave with today would be?
I hope you leave with a few things, to be very honest. But the one thing I think, like, I think it's either the 100-gram club thing that, like, you know what, man? My mom has never gone to the gym. She works out with me every so often, on and off, just because me being her son. But it's never become routine. But she is so healthy, thank God, knock on wood. Everything in her life has been blessed in that way. She looks young. People think she's my sister. And I associate all of this stuff to the fact that my mom is very protein dominant. My mom is the first guy that says, I want steak or ribs, always in the household. She's always like, I want steak or I want ribs. We eat that maybe 3 or 4 times a week. Okay, as a family, we were brought up on barbecue. It could be because she's African and it just comes from her, like, you know,
maybe,
like her, yeah, right. It could be, but the reality is that you don't need to work. I know it sounds bad, but I don't want somebody to take my context and twist it. You don't have to work out in a gym in order to be healthy and fit. You can just have a good diet that can help you immensely. Because I know people who go to the gym but have terrible diets, and that affects them very bad. But I also know people that don't go to the gym that have great diets, and that affects them fucking awesome. They're living a great, healthy life. So if I was to take one of the poisons, I would rather take the no gym poison and do more on your diet. If we all work on our diet, our immunity, in fact, your child that you give birth to in the future as women would be healthier and better off too. So join the 100-gram club. Okay? You don't join my club. Join the 100-gram club. Aim for that every day. 100 grams of protein. That's it.
Look at that. So if you were going to give advice to someone who feels intimidated to start their fitness journey, what would you tell them?
I think intimidated to start their fitness journey, what's the number one thing? I'm a very realist. Like I don't like to like sugarcoat shit. So I think that when people say like I'm afraid of starting or whatever, I look at them and I go, well, fucking who's going to do it for you? So like as soon as you come through like your own realization that like this is a you thing, because I say that a lot in life, like this is a you thing or this is a us thing, because I want you to understand that I'm there for you, but this is not something I'm there for you on. This is a you thing. You need to take care of yourself. You do. Whoever you are, listener, start taking care of yourself. And that starts with anything we talked about earlier, walking up the stairs, eating healthy, anything. So if you're afraid of starting at the gym, have you gone to a YouTube video and even seen what the gym is like or like what you should be doing? I feel like most people get afraid, but they don't even put the effort in. Because right now, if I Google what to do first day on the gym or at the gym, I'll find 100 things that are actually not bad. They're okay. Right. But we're just too afraid to even Google it.
Yeah. Sometimes we don't even know where to start. So I think that's even a good idea around, okay, I can look it up. Like what would someone make me do there at the gym? What could I expect to see? That's a great idea. Yeah.
And it's like a car. Don't drive it too fast if you're a first time driver. Just don't drive it too fast. You won't hit anything. Make sure you get home safe, okay? You might make a wrong turn, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
The main thing you want to be worried about is you don't hurt somebody else or yourself with the car. Very much so in the gym, man. Go to the gym, just do things. The machines only move one way. I know they might look intimidating, but they're stuck with so many. They only move one way. This thing can only go like this. Okay, only way you hurt yourself is this shit.
Moving that's better for the dance floor.
100%. Just look at the side of the machine. There's a diagram right there. Oh, he just back is straight and he just pushes. Okay, cool. Now you're gonna hurt yourself if you start with 80. Just do 10. It was really light. Okay, I went to 15. It was really light. I went to 20. All right, I'm done. 3 sets. Next week, I'm starting with 20 because it's really, really easy, step by step.
Right.
Gain the confidence. I can't make you confident. You will make yourself confident. Promise you that. Same way you did it in a car, driving a few times, going over the roads, finding your way, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's like driving without GPS. That's all it is.
Yeah.
That's all it is. You know where you're supposed to go. Just head that way. Reach out to your friends that go to the gym first. The ones that go to the gym, go give them the benefit of doubt. They've been going for 5-6 years. Just because they don't look like a superstar doesn't mean they don't know anything. Go get to their level first, then aim on someone like me.
So I want to thank you for your time. You and I have been hanging out, getting to know each other in the last little bit. It's taken us a minute to put this episode together, but everything I find happens with divine timing. So thank you for this insightful conversation, Vishal. I feel that, this conversation has been really helpful in just helping all of us understand, like, we don't have to be perfect. And, for those that are listening, that are in this conversation with us, it's just what Vishal and I have been saying. Fitness isn't about how we look. It's about how we feel. It's about how we move. It's about how we live. So if we are shifting our focus from the appearance to our strength, from quick fixes to sustainable habits, if you think long-term, longevity, next time we want to comment on someone's body, compliment them for something else, their character, the kind thing they did, all these sorts of little things, if we start to change these stereotypes that we've all grown up with or lived around, I think maybe can help us get to that gym, help us be a little bit healthier. So Vishal, thank you for your time. And unless there's anything else you want to say before we go, I think the biggest thing for us over here at MFU is appreciate what you're doing and trying to help the community build some strength. So thank you for that.
Thank you. No, thank you for having me. And thank you for creating a platform where people like me can actually speak our mind and not feel so, reserved at the same time. Like, I really felt good doing this. I feel like even if one person understands my point of view here, then I helped one person in their life. So that alone to me is an opportunity, and you gave that to us. So I thank you very much for that.
Oh, I'm so happy to be part of this. Thanks.
Absolutely.